Talking of equipment, I mean, we can get more and more technical. Go down to the fins.
Yeah,
and
that's something that people don't tend to think about that much within freestyle. You know, back in the day when freestyle was a little bit more about kind of the sliding moves maybe, and trying to do sort of 3 or 4 punettas one after the other, people would literally sand down a slalom fin to about 15 centimeters, and it was all about kind of almost spinning yourself out and sliding. Whereas now it's a lot more about these kind of big power moves, getting a bit more airtime. So that fin has become more important. Of course, as we all know, the fin is what generates lift. And, you know, you see guys using bigger and bigger fins as well. I mean, I remember, you know, when I first started, for those who don't know, I'm a larger rider. You know, I'm 94 kilos, just under 6'4".
So on yourself, Sandy.
Hey, well, what can I say?
Trimmed.
Not quite, but yeah, I've always, you know, used a slightly larger fin. I remember when I first started freestyling, that was almost weird. I was using a 20 centimeter, and all the other guys were using 16, 17 centimeter fins. But now, no matter the size of the rider, everyone's kind of using, you know, larger fins, 20 centimeters, 19 centimeters. We're seeing, so it has really changed, and I think fins are, you know, a super important part of freestyle.
Indeed, and one such brand, there's many fin brands of course, but one such brand is quite dominant in the sport at the moment, Maui Ultra Fins. They've actually got 10 team riders.
Yeah.
10, maybe they're not all team riders, but they've, you know, some have been like, I want to be on Maui Ultra Fins.
Yeah.
And as a result, 10 of the competitors here are riding Maui Ultra Fins.
Yeah, so it's almost half the fleet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got like just under half the fleet of pro riders using them, so
yeah,
quite impressive, and obviously they're working well. And we've got a nice little feature that we'll bring in of a few of the guys riding on these fins from this competition, so we'll cue that in.
Valentine there, that's a bit risky. I've held one of those weed fins and they are sharp.
Sharp indeed.
I've never actually used a weed fin before, but it was quite interesting chatting to a few of those guys earlier about them. I spent some time in Brazil a few years ago, and those who have been to Brazil will know that there's a lot of weed in the water there. You know, sometimes, some years, this grass kind of grows in it. I guess it all sheds that time of year.
I actually, it's the first time and the last time I've used kind of a weed fin. But it was really good, huh?
Really?
Yeah, in fact, it was the Maui Ultra one. I used a weed fin in Bonaire for the competition there a few years back, and it was amazing. Like, I really liked the fin. I even used it for a little bit longer afterwards until like I was like, okay, I'll get my normal fin back in. But it was so fast.
Yeah.
And yeah, as you say, super sharp. So a lot of speed on it. Obviously, it's a bit different because the rake of the fin is so far back. It's actually putting the fin area more towards the back of the board. It would be like taking the normal fin most people are used to and moving the actual box back a couple of centimeters. And then the area tends to shift back towards there. So, it's cool.
From what I gather, and you know, the general knowledge people will have about fins, I guess it is always going to be slightly different. It will make that board feel perhaps a little bit looser. But the most importantly, when I was holding it compared to the other fin, something I noticed, that weed fin is a lot thinner. So they obviously have, you know, slimmed it down a little bit to still keep that speed.
Yeah, that was something I noticed quite a few years ago with Maui Ultra Fins. I noticed that they're a little bit thicker, the fins, and then they got some feedback, and then they slimmed quite a few of them down, and it suddenly opened the door to a lot more speed, and I think that's why you see so many people riding them. I mean, let's be honest.
Let's face it, you know, despite being sponsored by all this stuff, these guys wouldn't use it if they didn't work.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, so it must make total sense, and I'm sure there's a lot of you out there that do ride in places with a lot of seagrass or, you know, seaweed in the water. So definitely check out getting yourself a weed fin, because it's so frustrating when you're sailing along, especially if you're doing freestyle and you're stepping into switch and you hit a bit of weed and your board kind of starts to spin out and you lose a load of speed. It's really, really frustrating. It's definitely a good thing to have. So actually, while we're on this subject, I had a little interview earlier on with Maui Ultrafin's team rider Niklas Nieblung, the hugely talented German freestyler on Fanatic Duotone. Been putting out a lot of content. He's been lucky enough to have been in Bonaire for the last 3 months, having a lovely old time. I've seen him in a lot of the Kuma videos. I mean, I was aware of how good he was already, and but I didn't quite realise until all those Kuma videos came out. And now we've seen really the moves that he has on offer.
Indeed, yeah. I mean, he's absolutely charging, isn't he?
Yeah.
And I caught up with him at the food truck. You can see it there in the middle of the picture. And he said, "I want the wind. I want the wind to come in tomorrow." And he's up against Amado. Yeah. And he fancies his chances against Amado. Yeah. He's really keen, confident. He's pushing hard. And I'm honestly, I would say on his day, he's going to give Amado a
run for his money.
A run for his money, yeah. So that could be a super interesting heat to watch. Yeah. We've got our fingers and toes crossed for the forecast tomorrow. There's a chance, a good chance that the wind is coming, and we've got some clouds on the horizon, so should give it a little extra push. And then, you caught up with him, had a good chat with him, and let's bring that in.
Here we are, guys, back again in Austria for day 3. Of the first European Freestyle Pro Tour event of 2021, and we've got some hot news straight off the press for all of you. All of us at the EFPT are super excited to announce that Maui Ultrafins will be sponsoring the tour going ahead. So with that, I am joined by Maui Ultrafins rider, young German freestyle talent, Niklas Nieblung. How are you doing, Niklas?
Yeah, fine. Couldn't be better. The sun is shining. We are here in Lake Neusield. We had great days already here. So yeah, can't be better.
Fingers crossed. There may be a little bit of wind on the horizon, but for today, it's just going to be much more of a tow-in day. Are you going to be competing on the tow-in?
I competed in the tow-in already, but I'm out, unfortunately.
So it's a chill day for you?
Yeah, for me it's a chill day.
So can you... Obviously, the Maui Ultrafins, it's a very famous, brand within windsurfing, but a lot in freestyle. You see a lot of riders with the little red fins underneath their boards. You've been a rider for them for a while now, and you've actually been designing the fins as well. And you've got the 2 new models there. Can you tell us a little bit about them?
Yeah, we have 2 new redeveloped freestyle fins. One fin for weedy conditions, and one normal fin. Yeah. We have now a thinner profile, which makes the top speed faster. And
it tends to work pretty well.
It works pretty well, yes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I spent some time in Brazil, and a weed fin is definitely super important. And it's one of those things, you see the slalom guys, and they've got huge boxes full of fins. But you don't see it so much in freestyle. Even the wave guys, they've always, looking at their fins, changing, thrusters, things. Windsurfing, it's only one fin, but I think the fin is super important, isn't it? It's a lot more important than some people think it is, even in freestyle.
Yeah, definitely, it is super important to have a good fin, and you need a good sliding ability. Yeah. And what now is super important is the speed. Yeah. You need it for all the latest moves, double power moves. But also when you want to learn the flacker or air jibe, speed is super important. Yeah. And that was the thing we focused the most.
Yeah, definitely. I think in freestyle the fins were small for a few years when it was all about the sliding moves, but now the fins have got a bit bigger. What size fins do you use on your boards?
I usually use the 19 on the for the normal fin, and also the 19 for the weed fin. Yeah. It always depends on the conditions. If we have flat water, I usually use the smaller fin, the 19. Yeah. If it's choppy, I use the 20. Yeah. And same for the weed fin. Yeah. Always depends on the conditions.
Yeah. Well, great. Yeah, as I said, at the EFPT, we're really excited to have Maui Ultra fins supporting us. They're great fins, so you can check them out on Instagram or online. And yeah, Nicholas, best of luck with the rest of the competition, and thank you very much. Great to hear from Nicholas Nieblung there. I actually ended up sitting on the beanbag for about another half an hour with him, just chatting away to him. I think
very chilled.
I don't think he seemed quite stressed, but he said, you know, he was a bit worried about doing the interview in English, and then he kind of said afterwards, he was like, just the camera makes him nervous, but you wouldn't really know it there, to be honest.
No,
he seemed super. He's super chilled. Really nice guy. First time I've ever met him. We ended up sitting just talking about all the different spots we've been to. He was telling me a bit about Bonaire. He said he really wants to go to Brazil. I was telling him about my time there. But just a really great rider, and definitely one to watch in the future. He's such a cool guy, and he's got a younger brother who's also hugely talented, Lucas Nieblung as well. Lucas on day one when we ran some heats actually ended up knocking Tati Franz out of the competition.
Incredible, huh?
Which was crazy. We saw a few kind of big shock upsets on day one, and that was definitely one for the books.